Hello and welcome to the Sweetest Little Life. I am so glad you're here. I am your host, Courtney Hanson. With each week, we will have exciting new guests to grow spiritually, develop personally, and learn how to step into our purpose authentically. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the next 30 minutes of connection with the mind, body, and spirit. Are you ready for a no BS training for muscle growth? Alpha Progression is the go-to app for anyone training to maximize muscle gain. They are focused 100% on just that. This whole program is science-based and it's developed by serious lifters with personal training and competitive bodybuilding backgrounds, rising star in the fitness scene, and everything is taking off with Alpha Progression. It is the go-to app for anyone that is ready to step it up and take it to the next level. It's also been recognized twice as App of the Day by Apple, and they are far the top rated fitness app in Germany. And they've recently started to expand to users worldwide, which means you and I can hop on and jump to the next level of our fitness gain. This is such an intuitive workout logger. I love that all the users use the AI and constantly tell everyone how easy it is, even though it's packed with tons of features. It's super simple to use. So there's not that overwhelm when you're trying to navigate through everything. There's a plan generator, and the plans are generated from scratch and according to what you need, not a general synopsis, because we know that not everybody is the same. So what the muscles want they to focus on, the equipment they have, there's over 1 trillion input combinations. 1 trillion. You heard that right. Quality-wise, the plans are measured up to the best personal trainers in the world. They had a coach who charged $500 a month tell them that the app follows exactly the same principles as what they are giving to their clients. So the strength training is all about progression, and the algorithm analyzes past performances and then gives you a recommendation for weight and reps in every single set. So this guarantees long-term success for you. The pro version is $12.99 per month, you guys, or $80 a year. That's cheaper than 1 month at a gym. It's a free 2-week trial, so you can try it on for size, see if you like it, and customers get 20% off their first payment using the link alphaprogression.com/the sweetest little life.
Laura, thank you so much for improving and being on my show last minute. You guys, Laura had no idea that she was going to be on my show. I had a complete another guest planned out, and life was lifing this week. And so Laura is going to be sharing her near-death experience with us. And I'm going to be asking you questions about this because I think a lot of us have a huge fear of death in general, right? And I think people who are either dying or the thought of death or have lost people, like we've all had some experience with death that's really scary. And I think we've both dealt with that firsthand. Mm-hmm. And so would you be willing to tell us a little bit about your journey and your story and who you are?
Sure. Be happy to. I haven't shared it too many times, but I'm happy to share it with you. Yeah. What do you want to know?
I want to know from childhood on. This can be time-lapse, it can be long, but tell me it all. I want to know who you are.
Okay, let me start. I would say that I always felt spiritual, but I was never very involved in church. My parents, I was brought up Methodist, but it never jived with me. And I always knew there was something out there, but I couldn't put words to it. As a child, I saw spirits. I saw my grandfather after he passed and told my mother, and she got very angry with me and shamed me for seeing him. And I stopped seeing him. And so that was my life pretty much, is hiding what I used to be able to see. You know, I thought it was wrong.
How old were you?
I would say 7, maybe, something like that. 7, 8. Yeah. I had a childhood full of bullying. I was bullied most of my life, and I hid a lot. That was kind of the theme of my childhood years. And I got married when I was 36, kind of late in the game, but we were married for 20 odd years. And towards the end, when it was obvious, at least to me, that it wasn't going to work out, I got sick. And they told me I had fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, all these autoimmune diseases. And they said, there's no cure, go home and go to bed. And that didn't work for me. So I started looking for alternative doctors, alternative medicine. I didn't want to stay in bed all the time and just take drugs. And I started finding, when you open up to something, things happen. And I started finding the right doctors who could help me. And I got better and better and better, but I was still ill. And I just wanted to be done with it. And so I was told that I needed to have this very invasive surgery. And as soon as my doctor told me that I was going to have it, I had this visceral reaction where I knew something was going to happen. I knew it was going to be really bad, but I also knew that I had to do it. And it was just the weirdest thing. It was very spiritual. And so going into the surgery, I knew something was going to happen. And my marriage was falling apart. And I went in and had this surgery, and weird things happened. During the surgery, the anesthesiologist kept saying that the machine broke. I woke up. I woke up. I was supposed to be asleep. They all looked at me like, "What are you doing?" And but I got through the surgery, and I told my husband had stayed. I was married at the time, so my husband had stayed at the time, and he hated hospitals. So I told him to go home. And as soon as he left, I knew something was going to happen. I knew the thing, whatever it was going to happen. So I was in for jaw surgery, so my jaw was wired shut. And I told the nurse at a whiteboard, would you please call my husband and ask him to come back? And he did. But he was very angry. Yeah. He stayed. And the next morning I woke up and he complained to me about everything, about how hard it was for him and blah, blah. Anyway, I remember I needed to go to the bathroom, so I got up to go to the bathroom, and my ankles were like tree trunks. Mm. And I stood up, and I had a massive pulmonary embolism. And my sister was there too. And everything started going in slow motion. The alarm's going off. I was calm as can be. I was so calm, and everybody's freaking out. My sister's freaking out. The alarms. They got a cardiologist was next door. He came running in,
and you're standing during.
I'm standing, okay. And I'm feeling great, and I'm going, oh, this is so weird because I feel great. Why is everybody freaking out? And so the cardiologist comes in, and he's, kind of yelling at my sister and my husband, saying, how old is she? What'd she come in for? All this stuff. And they were like deer in the headlights. They were just frozen. And I remember I'm going through cardiac arrest, and I'm picking up the whiteboard and just very calmly writing all the answers down. And that's the last thing I remember. Then I died. And they had to shock me, and they brought me back. I mean, I don't think I was dead for very long on this side, but on the other side, it felt like hours because so many things happened to me on the other side.
What was the time frame in this world? What was the time frame? Was it a minute, 10 minutes?
Oh, it's less than 10 minutes. because a cardiologist was right there, he just took over, and they restarted my heart. I don't know how many times they tried, but it was, a minute or two or 3 minutes at the most. It wasn't that long.
Yeah. Talk about a lesson on like time's not linear though, because to know that time felt like hours or days on the other side to it being less than 10 minutes here, like just shows like time and space. Like that trips me out when I sit and think about it.
Yeah. It took a long time afterwards to process everything, to realize it really happened, because it was kind of like a story for a while, and so unbelievable to me. Even though I experienced it, I was so humbled by the experience, and
you were completely flatlined during
yeah,
this time.
yeah.
So while you were flatlined, you were standing, you wrote your name. That was the last thing you remember. I'm assuming you fell on the floor and they got you to the bed right away.
Mm-hmm.
While you were dead and on the other side, what was the first thing that happened? Like, is there a white light?
There was. The first thing that I remember was feeling like I was in my hospital bed with the covers over me. It felt like it was a safe kind of fort. When kids, you make the fort. That's what it felt like to me. And I was in a fetal position. But my sister said I was never in a fetal position. But it's interesting how I went back in my mind. I was in a fetal position. And that's right. And I heard in my mind, I wonder if I died. And then I also heard, the next thing I heard is, I wonder if I want to die. And this is where I was seeing things, but I don't know exactly in what order. I remember the doctors telling my family I'd had a fatal event and to say goodbye. And thinking, why are you telling my family that? I feel great. And my sister told me they told them that daily, that, she's had a fatal event. And so, you need to put everything in order and all that. So the next thing I remember, this whole thing happened in my ICU room, which was inside this huge, expansive place. So I don't know if I went to heaven or I think I was in a holding place. I really think I was in a holding place. The white light was there, but it was always behind me.
Huh. So you didn't like walk to a white light?
Mm-mm. I didn't feel like I was in a body. I wasn't in a body, but I knew it was behind me, and spirit guides and ancestors were there for me.
Is this your first time meeting your spirit guide? Was on the other side, or had you already had contact?
No, I had blocked all that out. So it was this first time. Okay. In my mind, it was.
Did you know, like, instinctively, like, how our spirit just has that, like, innate sense of knowing? Did you know, like, okay, these are my spirit guides, they're for good, or were you in fear, or does fear even exist on the other side?
There was no fear. There was absolutely no fear. I was just in the moment. I didn't know who she was when she came to me.
So there was no, like, what the fuck moment on the other side? It just felt like knowing?
It's just peace. It's an overwhelming sense of peace and love, and the most amazing experience, I tell people, was when I died. The most amazing experience of my life is when I died. It was awesome. So I'm in this hospital room, my ICU room, and I look out, and there's a big, expansive space. It felt intimate, but it went on forever. And up above were all the lights. It looked like, the colors of the ocean, like crystal energy. It was just energy in blues and greens and all different colors. And it went on forever. And the white light was behind me. And so I'm looking, and I was in my hospital bed. I kind of felt like I was there, but I wasn't. I wasn't in my body, but the room was there. And then I'm looking out the window of my ICU room, and this lady starts floating to me, and voluptuous green woman, naked. She didn't have hair. She had tubes. And when she floated, it was like she was under the water. The tubes on her head would move. And she floated right up to me. And I'll always remember this because first it was like she shot me with love. And she had dimples, and she smiled big, and her cheeks were all rosy. She's green, but she's got rosy cheeks and dimples. And I just, it was just, and she was there for me, and she spoke to me telepathically. And I don't remember everything that she said, but I know that she was there for me, and she brought me through my life review. I was given a choice to either go back or start all over in another life. Oh. And but first we did the life review. So life review, okay.
And what does the life review look like? Like, what is it? Know what a life review is? What is that?
I brought up in my mind. I brought up all my perceived sins, what I felt shame for, what I felt guilty for, all the things that I perceived as a sin. And everything I brought up, she'd say, there is no sin. It's like, that's just a lesson. It's just a lesson. There is no sin. And how amazing is that? I mean, that was just so compassionate and wonderful to hear.
So this woman felt safe.
Absolutely, yeah. She's my main spirit guide now. I have others, but she's the one that I call out for when I really need help.
So when you were doing your life review and you felt that that was the one thing that you on the other side went to was the shame, the things that you did wrong. And when you learned that, did this go quick? Well, it had to go quick. You had 10 minutes, but how long did it feel like on the other side going through this life review? Was it like slideshows? Like, how did it get shown to you?
I don't remember other than the response. I think it was just like real quick.
Yeah.
Her response, my response to it. And I believe that I made a contract with her at that point to come back and do something because I decided to come back. And I believe I made a contract with her, and I'm trying to figure out what that is right now. But I definitely decided to go back, and it was a wake-up call for me because I needed to change my life. I needed to leave a marriage that wasn't good for me, and wasn't good for him either. You know, I don't put blame on my ex at all. It was not a good situation for either one of us, and so I needed to do that. I needed to take care of my health. I needed to move and start. This is when I started meeting people like you who can help me figure things out, I should say. What I'm supposed to do. There was a lot of healing that had to take place, a lot of healing from my childhood, past lives have come up, a lot of healing from those. Lessons that I need to learn in order to do what I'm supposed to do here right now.
So when you came back after the life review and everything happened, what was the first thing? Like, did you feel yourself fit into your body? Like, what was that experience like for you?
I don't remember getting back in my body. I remember when I woke up, I retained that feeling of self-love and compassion that was given to me on the other side. I retained it for a long time. I tell people I was in love with everybody, and I didn't just love people. I was in love with everybody. They'd come in and I'd hold their hand. The doctors would come in because they saw my scans and they couldn't believe that I had lived. So yeah, I went through a period that I say Jesus-like because I was brought up a Christian, and then that's how I see him as a holy man and how he loved everybody. And so that's how I felt, that's how I was. Unfortunately, I'm a lot of feeling. Had to go home and deal with 3D stuff. And that's been an issue for me that I have been working on for years. Is I came back for a reason. There's this draw on the other side because it was so wonderful on the other side. But yeah, I chose to come back here, so I can't always hope to go back. I came here for a reason.
Absolutely, because you're supposed to help people, right, with this story and this journey. And I think one of the biggest fears around death is the fear of the unknown and that we don't know what's on the other side. And you can hear people and watch things, but how do you know they're not crazy? Or that's what you're immediately labeled as when you say what has happened. And I think it's so powerful for people. I'm going to bring up Katie. When Katie was passing, I think that was one of the biggest fears for her, watching her in that space with cancer, was not knowing what was happening and wanting to just control and grip to life so hard, because although she was raised religious and although she believed in heaven, there was still this fear of the unknown. And I always say, like, we can come from a decision of two places, love or fear, right? And if we're not in that space of Christ consciousness, if we're not in that space of love, then we're operating out of fear in a situation like that. And it sounds like for you immediately were like scooped into that Christ consciousness. And like, that's what I hear when you come back and you're like holding the doctor's hand and loving them. And like, you're just in this space of like, your cup is overflowing. And so you can give to other people, even in such a crippled state of being sick and having all the medical stuff go on. I just think it's powerful. I did this thing on the podcast probably about a year ago, and I started giving the audience 3 tools that they can start to implement into their lives. And I'm hoping this reaches people who are either sick and in fear or have just lost a loved one and are in this darker space of fear, how we can get them to show up in love. What are 3 tools that on your healing journey have really been imperative for you that you're like, yeah, that worked?
Gratitude, for one.
What does that look like for you?
Where I'm at, gratitude for where I'm at, gratitude for my childhood, which was difficult. It made me who I am today. Gratitude for all the relationships that I went through that hurt me, but I needed to go through them. Gratitude just for the right now. Yeah, that's a big thing, gratitude. And I'm so grateful for meeting you in this space and going through that. So that's one of them. 3 things, huh?
I know. It's hard. Big number. I like 3.
Don't be afraid to just go out of the norm. That's a big thing because, like I said, they told me go to bed, go home, go to bed, and that didn't work for me.
I feel like curiosity gets stripped from us a lot. Like when we're little, we're naturally so curious and we ask why to everything, and we annoy adults, and like we're constantly wondering how things work. And somewhere along the line, because we're so conditioned from parents or teachers to sit still and be quiet, like we forget to ask the questions of being curious. That was one thing for me on my healing journey that pivoted everything. I'd have a thought and I'd be driving, like my thoughts come when I'm driving usually, but I'd have this thought and immediately I would go into, okay, well, where did this thought come from? Like, is it my dad? Is it church? Is it my school? Was it an ex-boyfriend? Like, where did this thought come from? And when I could get to the root of whatever the thought was, it took the fear away. Then I was like, well, what do I really think about that?
That's really good because, you know, especially in the spiritual world, you meet so many people that all have their own beliefs and you just have to let
all
them
the gurus.
All the gurus.
All the gurus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's good to see them and not put them on a pedestal and learn what you can from them, but also go with your own gut as to what rings true for you. Because why replace one God with another one? You know, I mean, we are all part of God. That was what I got.
There was one part I wanted you to touch on that we personally talked about before. You explained energy, and when I hear you talking, it's so funny because I piece it to, and I know it's nothing like this, and this is me being ignorant, but I do piece it to my DMT journey.
Oh,
because when I did my DMT journey, that's what happened for me. It was like I dropped down, and I could hear voices very muffled in the background of my guide and my husband. And I had to ask them to and then all of a sudden it was just like colors and energy and flowing, and it was like this a massive amount of love that just felt so safe. But it wasn't like I knew so clearly what I was seeing in my journey, like I knew what it meant. But if I was to draw you a picture of it, it would just look like colors and shapes and nothingness.
Just feelings. It's hard to translate.
But they say that there's no emotion on the other side. Like, we don't feel sad, we don't feel happy, but I felt the emotion of love. Like, I felt that.
Well, let me put it this way. I knew my family was there, and they were mourning for me, and I saw it from a perspective of this is something they are going through. It's separate from what I'm going through. I love them, but I didn't have, I have to go back because they're hurting. I don't know.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
No, I get that.
Yeah. Because they came in for this experience. I believe that I knew that I was going to do this at some point. They knew that they were going to go through this. I believe in divine timing and all that. But I did feel like when you pass over, you are just one. You are part of God. There is no man with the white beard, you know.
So we're all fragments of that piece of God.
Yeah, we're all energy. And because it was a holding place for me, and I don't believe it was a place for me to make the decision. I could feel that, but I still had my autonomy, and I was still going through my own questions as to what I wanted to do. And there are some days afterwards where, COVID, I didn't come back for COVID, but yeah, I did.
Yes,
there are times when I go, why did I come back? But I'm here, and make the best of it and love each day and be grateful for each day and for my wonderful family who stood by me and my friends, my new friends that I meet.
And how many people you're going to be able to help and reach with your story now that you're talking about it openly, which I totally get the healing aspect of that, though, because it's such an intimate experience to hold, and there's so much judgment around it because of other people's fear that can get projected onto you. So I'd imagine it's very brave that you're sharing it.
Well, I'm not a public speaker either. So
you're doing beautiful.
I'm doing it for you, Courtney.
And what's the third one? What's something that really has gotten you? Or let's do it this way. What's something when you feel like the walls are caving in? What's something that redirects you that you can do?
Sometimes you just have to let it come out. Sometimes I need to feel this, and so I do something that makes me feel it, and then I can, that was then, now I can move on. And sometimes it's just reaching out to a friend and just saying, this kind of sucks right now.
I get that.
Yeah.
Thank you seriously so much for your time today. And
Thank you
for being on the show. I know that this was very spur of the moment. And being able to share your story, I am sure that this is going to help a lot of people. And if you in the audience have any questions, you want to private DM me at the Sweetest Little Life, or if you want to drop it in the comments, we will be more than happy to answer from Laura directly on anything that brought up for you through this discussion and this talk. Till next time.
Thank you so much for joining us today. If you have a takeaway or something from the conversation that really just resonated within your heart center, I would love to hear about it. Please leave it in the comment section so we can give you more of this content. As always, please subscribe, save, and sharing is caring. We love you to pieces. Have a beautiful and blessed day.